Good morning. And are you ready? Yep. Okay. Good morning and welcome to this Canmore Local Assessment Review Board hearing. I would like to remind everyone that the ARB hearings are open to the public and that this hearing will be recorded and streamed live. The video recording will be our record of hearing. We are here today to review the complaint and subsequent evidence as filed for tax roll number 17247, municipal address of 216 Eagle Point. I will start by introducing the panel and then ask the parties to introduce themselves. After that, I will explain our standard hearing procedure and ask for comments in that regard. My name is Anita Furlan, and I'm the presiding officer appointed to this panel. The other panel members with me today are...
Good morning, I'm Jen Marin. I'm a panel member and representative of Town of Canmore Council.
Good morning, my name is Christoph Breyer.
Does anyone have objection to the panel as constituted? I'm now going to have the parties introduce themselves, starting with the complainant. Would you please state for the record your name, organization, and your role in the hearing, and please indicate whether you are the owner of the property under complaint. And if I could ask you to just come up to the podium and just hit the button, please.
Hi, Robin Lowen, one of the joint owners of 216 Eagle Point.
Great, thank you. And now the respondent.
My name is Deanne Bannerman. I'm with Legacy Municipal Services, and I'm the appointed assessor for the Town of Canmore. Thank you.
Thank you. The LARB standard practice is to have the complainant present all of their evidence first, followed by questions from the respondent and then the panel. Next, the respondent presents their evidence, followed once again by questions from the complainant and then the panel. Finally, both parties will have the opportunity to present their final argument and summarize their evidence for the panel, with the complainant presenting first. If anyone needs a break or if a problem comes up, please let the panel know as soon as possible and we can address those things as we go. I will also take this time to remind everyone to please turn off any mobile devices. Are there any questions regarding the procedure today, or is everyone satisfied with the process as laid out? Great, thank you. I see both parties have exchanged disclosure evidence before the hearing. To save time, I propose that we mark all documents for the record now. That won't stop anyone raising questions about admissibility later. If any such questions arise, we can still deal with them and strike material from the record later if necessary. Is everyone comfortable with this procedure? Mr. Clerk?
Thank you very much. We received the following evidence for tax roll 17247. Complainant package C1, complaint form 4 pages, complainant package C2, complaint disclosure 12 pages, and respondent package R1, respondent disclosure 99 pages.
Thank you. Are there any other preliminary issues for the panel to address? Great. All right. Mr. Lowen, we are ready for your evidence if you're set to go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I think for us, we are going to try to keep this fairly simple. Our key point is that we couldn't sell our property at the assessed price. There's a number of things that I expect the respondent will bring up. They've done a lot of work in responding to our complaint. However, I think we're just sort of trying to keep it to sort of some common sense elements of what we know to be true and looking at some of our neighbors and the age of our home. So yeah, with our home being assessed at 2.481 million and it being assessed significantly higher or higher than much higher build quality homes adjacent to us with similar aspects, it feels like it is assessed too high. Additionally, because there weren't that many homes sold in the Eagle Terrace subdivision over the last number of years, there was some houses taken into account way back to 2022, which was sort of the peak of the pandemic sales prices, and then adjusted for today's current price, which doesn't feel realistic. As well, so we asked a realtor to take into account similar homes in various aspects of the valley because we needed a bigger sample size. I understand there was a couple of errors in my submission. One of them was above the chart I submitted on page 2. I actually, the italicized note is erroneous. The bullet chart did not contain an error. It should have been 2025 numbers. As well, I understand that things like appliances, et cetera, are not taken into account. That being said, in looking at some of the respondent information, talks a lot about whatever the aggregate is of things to allow us to receive the assessment we have in comparison to our neighbors. But I would just draw everybody's attention to page 2 and going through some of the properties referenced as well as ones that we have referenced. 276 Eagle Terrace Road, the lot size is almost double ours. It has significantly more bathrooms. It's 800 square feet larger. And this is one of my concerns. Note that the assessment for this property is almost $150,000 more than the adjusted sale price, which strikes me as being that we have a pattern of some overassessment happening. 426 Eagle Heights also has considerably more bathrooms than us. It's 525 feet larger. It's a larger lot and significantly higher end home with higher build quality. And then we have 425 Eagle Heights, which was assessed for $183,000 less than our home, and it sold at the pandemic peak. It's also larger than our home, and it's oriented for views. One of the significant elements of our home is, or a few of the significant elements, standard tract construction. It's not custom spec. It's not a small home, but it's no different than any home in any other subdivision, whereas a lot of our neighbors are custom timber frame homes, parallel truss, custom designed homes. There's only one full bathroom in our home and 2 half bathrooms. It's one of the reasons that when we bought it, we were able to get it at a reasonably good price. We don't have children. It would be a difficult home for people who had children because of the way it's designed, so it's a bit of an anomalous house. It doesn't have as many panoramic views as a lot of our neighbors, has stucco ceilings throughout. Moving down beyond the properties that I referenced, that were referenced in the chart, I'm going to compare to some of our direct neighbors as they seem like the most direct and fair comparables. 217 Eagle Point was assessed for $48,000 less than ours. This is a custom timber frame home. It cost 3 times what ours did to build. It would likely sell for 50 to 70% more than ours. The dwelling is only slightly larger than ours, but the lot area is over 19% larger, has 1 extra full bath, and again, even though it was a custom timber frame home, it was assessed at $48,000 less than our property. Looking to our right, 218 Eagle Point, it was also assessed at less than ours. This house is also a true custom home. This house contains parallel cord truss and custom timber work throughout, has more bathrooms and a much larger yard. We didn't have a ratepayer report on this property, so we have fewer specifics. 214 Eagle Point to our left, we have some specifics because the current owner was willing to share some with us. That house is assessed at $45,000 less than ours as well. It's almost 500 square feet larger. It has more above grade square footage. It has 1 extra full bath. It has wood ceilings, has a large bonus room under the garage, which we do not have, and a boutique architectural firm designed the home, specifically designed for the lot. And the lot is about 10% larger than ours. And then 219 Eagle Point, again, we don't have a ratepayer report for this home, but it's recently renovated. I know that may not come into play, but it contains a legal bed and breakfast, so it has revenue generation, and it was also assessed for almost $160,000 less than ours. So to summarize again, unlike many houses in our neighborhood, our house does not possess structural timber framing with cast iron fasteners and timber frame accents, parallel cord truss construction for nicer roof lines, 2 or more full bathrooms, panoramic views from multiple levels, extensive masonry work, multiple decks, or multiple fireplaces, or a bonus room under the garage. I've left off the commercial kitchen appliances and granite countertops, as I understand that's not admissible. So again, to close off, unless there's any questions, we propose that at best our house would be worth about 2.2, and we believe we could potentially sell it for that price in about 6 months. The last house I referenced, the second last house I referenced, 214 Eagle Point, has been on the market for 1 year at 2.42 million and has not sold. And it is assessed for allegedly less than ours. So,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. I will just ask you to just stay there for a moment because I will go to the respondent and ask if she's got any questions. No? Okay. And anything from the panel?
Thank you for your presentation. I have only one question. You're asking for an assessed value to be $2.2 million. And how did you come up with that number?
We follow real estate quite closely in town. We've been looking at sales prices. We talked to a number of realtors, and we looked at what a reasonable price for sale would be compared using the comparables that were generated by the realtor we engaged to actually come up with them. And if the idea behind the new assessment process is to reflect market value, we feel like that's, as I said, about where we would be in about a 6-month sale window, knowing that Eagle Terrace homes are 15 to 20 years older than Three Sisters homes. Our house is unusual. It has a nice location, but it's also now getting to be older. But yeah, we based it on those market evaluations from realtors.
So there's no mathematic behind it, it's just, this is what
Well,
you feel?
we did comparables. I mean, I guess this is one of the things that is striking to me, right? As I look at the respondents' response, they're a professional responding to a citizen who believes that we're being assessed unfairly. And so, of course, there's all these aggregate mathematical questions. But if you look at what we presented in terms of the sale prices across those different neighborhoods, we believe, based on that and based on the features of those homes, that would be about fair. And then also looking at the sales prices within the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you. Ms. Bannerin?
So thank you. I'm appearing today regarding roll number 17247 at 216 Eagle Point. And the respondent requests that the board confirm the 2025 assessment year assessment for the 2026 tax year at $2,481,000. So turning to page 3 of our disclosure, the respondent will demonstrate 3 key points. First, that assessments in Alberta must be prepared annually. Second, the legislated valuation standard for the subject property is market value. And third, that assessments must be prepared in a fair and equitable manner. So now turning to pages 4 through 6, we're showing an outside photo of the subject property as well as their location within their neighborhood. So on page 7, we're indicating that the property is a detached residential dwelling within the Eagle Terrace neighborhood. The assessment summary also confirms that the property is a residential detached dwelling and zoned R1. So then turning to the background information on page 8, property assessments in Alberta are prepared in accordance with the Municipal Government Act and the matters relating to assessment and taxation regulations. These provisions require municipalities to prepare assessments that represent the market value through the application of the mass appraisal techniques. Market value is defined as the amount that might reasonably be expected to realize if it's sold on the open market between a willing seller to a willing buyer. The legislation further requires that assessments be prepared using mass appraisal. Mass appraisal is the legislated methodology used for valuing individual properties and involves the following process. Properties are stratified into groups of comparable properties. Common property characteristics are identified for the properties in each group, and then a uniform valuation model is created for each property group and applied back to that same property group. So on page 9, we explain that detached residential properties within the town of Canmore are valued using the market modified cost approach. This methodology combines elements of both the cost approach and the sales comparison approach, and is the most appropriate method because it mirrors the actions of buyers and sellers in the marketplace. Sales occurring between July 1st, 2022 and June 30th, 2025 were analyzed, validated, and adjusted to the legislated valuation date of July 1st, 2025. So the calculation of the property's assessment can be found on page 12. The subject property is a custom two-story basement with walkout basement or partially forced walkout basement, so there's access to the basement from the exterior, and it's 2,226 square feet. So then on page 13, the complainant's primary argument is that the assessment increased by approximately 10.5% from the prior year, whereas Realtor statistics suggest that the broader Eagle Terrace market increased by only 2.7 to 3.9%. The respondent submits that this is not a valid basis on which to determine whether an assessment is correct. As outlined on our pages 13 through 14, assessments in Alberta are prepared annually. Section 285 of the Municipal Government Act requires municipalities to prepare assessments each year. The courts and boards have consistently confirmed that these assessments are created anew every year and not derived from prior assessments. So the relevant question before the board is therefore not how much the assessment increased, but whether the current assessment of $2,481,000 reflects the market value as of July 1st, 2025, and is equitable relative to comparable properties. So then on page 15, we address post facto sales. So several sales relied upon by the complainant occurred after the legislated valuation date of July 1st, 2025. The respondent submits that such sales cannot be used to establish the market value as of the valuation date. The board and court decisions cited in this section consistently confirm that post facto evidence may only be used to confirm market trends and not directly to set value. So now we are on page 18. So we specifically addressed the complainant's sales analysis. The complainant provided sales from 2023 through to 2025 and relied upon Realtor market statistics. However, no adjustments were made to account for the changing market conditions over that period. The analysis effectively assumes that a sale occurring in 2023 reflects the market conditions as of a sale in 2025. We submit that this approach is inconsistent with accepted appraisal and assessment practice. Real estate markets change over time, or at least the Canmore market has changed over time, and accordingly, all sales used by the respondent were adjusted to a common point in time, which is the legislative valuation date of July 1st, 2025. And these adjustments were derived from actual market transactions within the town of Canmore and ensure that all sales are analyzed under the same market conditions. The complainant's assertion that the market has been flat since 2022 has not been supported by market evidence, nor is it consistent with what we have seen in the residential markets within the town of Canmore. Excuse me. So turning to page 20, the respondent provides the sales utilized to validate the assessment. These sales are located within the Eagle Terrace market area and possess similar physical characteristics to the subject property. They're all two-story with basement homes, and they're the same quality of construction and finishing. There are some differences between those properties, and they can be found, we've provided a summary here on page 20, but the actual details can be found further on in our report. Some of the bigger differences are, though, is that the subject property has a partial walkout basement, which means there's access to the basement from the exterior of the home. And this comparable property number 2 that we have listed also has a walkout basement. The remaining 2 do not. So you can see from our aerial photograph from page 21 that these properties are in a similar location to the subject property. So pages 22 through to 25 address the sales submitted by the complainant. The respondent has reviewed every sale identified and compared those properties to the subject property. As demonstrated in the comparison tables, many of the properties relied upon by the complainant differ materially from the subject property in terms of floor area, lot size, the quality of construction and finishing, the age, the structure type, and the location. In addition, several of the sales highlighted in blue, they actually occurred after the July 1st, 2025 valuation date, and therefore were not known or knowable when the assessments were prepared. These sales cannot be relied upon to establish market value as of the legislated valuation date and may simply be a result of changing market conditions occurring after the valuation date. The respondent also notes that many of the complainant sales are located in entirely different market areas, including Benchlands Terrace, Homesteads, Three Sisters, Stewart Creek, and Cairns Landing. These neighborhoods have different buyer preferences, locational characteristics, and market influences. Consequently, they are less reliable indicators of value than sales occurring within the Eagle Terrace market area that are the same quality of construction and finishes and the same structure type as the subject property. So now on page 26, we address the complainant's reliance upon the median sale price statistics. The respondent submits that the median sale price statistics relied upon by the complainant should be given limited weight in determining the market value of the subject property. While median sale prices may be useful for providing a broad overview of market activity, they do not provide a reliable basis for valuing an individual property. A median sale price is influenced not only by market appreciation or depreciation, but also by the composition of the properties that sold during a particular period. The properties included within the sample are not identical from one period to the next. Rather, the sample contains differing proportions of larger and smaller homes, older and newer homes, renovated and unrenovated homes, luxury properties, entry-level properties, and properties from different market locations. So what happens is, as the composition of the sales sample changes, the median sale price may increase or decrease, even if the underlying market conditions remain unchanged. For example, if a greater proportion of higher value properties sell during one period, the median sale price may increase despite little or no change to the value of the individual properties. Conversely, if more lower priced properties sell during another period, the median sale price may decrease despite stable or increasing market conditions. As a result, median sale price statistics often reflect changes in the mix of the properties sold rather than the changes in the market of the individual properties. So the respondent notes that the statistics provided by the complainant compare broad groups of sales occurring over different time periods. The analysis does not track the same properties through time. It does not adjust for the differences in physical characteristics between the properties included in the sample, and consequently, it's impossible to determine whether any change in the median sale price is attributable to actual market movement or simply changes in the composition of the properties that sold. So by contrast, the respondent's valuation process analyzes individual property sales and adjusts those sales for differences in the physical characteristics, the location, the quality of construction and finishing, the age, the size, and other relevant factors. Furthermore, all validated sales are adjusted to a common valuation date as of July 1st, 2025, to account for changing market conditions. This methodology isolates market influence and provides a more reliable indication of market value than broad median sale price statistics. So accordingly, the respondent submits that the median sale price statistics are not an appropriate tool for determining the market value of an individual property and should be given significantly less weight than the detailed market analysis and time-adjusted comparable sales relied upon by the respondent. So the complainant also argues that the subject property is inferior to neighboring homes due to factors such as finishing, views, bathroom, construction quality, and overall appeal. The respondent acknowledges that homes within Eagle Point may vary in quality and design. However, these differences are already recognized within the assessment model through quality classifications, the floor area, lot area, effective age, basement finish, the mix of plumbing fixtures, garage area, and any other physical characteristics. So I'm on page 26 still. So we also addressed the complainant's comments regarding appliances, and the complainant's already mentioned that they read our brief, so I won't go over that, just to highlight that they are considered chattels, so they're removable. They're not part of the real property of a home. So now on page 27, the complainant also places significant reliance on neighboring properties such as 214, 217, and 218 Eagle Point, We submit that while these properties may share a similar location, they are not identical to the subject property and they differ in numerous physical characteristics that would contribute to their assessments. So assessment comparisons based upon isolated characteristics fail to consider the cumulative effect of all the variables that are used in the mass appraisal process. We submit that the proper test is whether the assessment reflects the market value and whether it is equitable relative to market-supported sales evidence. The validated sales analyzed by the respondent again support the subject property's assessment. So now just to summarize, we submit that the assessment has been prepared in accordance with Alberta legislation, reflects market value as of July 1st, 2025, and it's supported by validated market evidence. The complainant has not provided market evidence demonstrating that subject's assessment exceeds market value or is inequitable relative to comparable properties. Instead, the evidence primarily consists of assessment comparisons, generalized market statements, sales of significantly different properties, and transactions occurring after the legislative valuation date. In contrast, the respondent has provided sales of properties similar to the subject property, which support the assessed value. And for all these reasons, we respectfully request that the Assessment Review Board confirm the assessment at $2,481,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bannerman. Mr. Lowen, do you have any questions for Ms. Bannerman? Sorry, if I could just ask you to come to the podium, thank you, just so we have it on record.
It's a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
You'll get your steps in.
I just have one question. Just to clarify what the valid period for inclusion is, because everything we've included was prior to June 30th, 24. So everything that we included, or 25, sorry, everything we included from our realtor assessment falls within that period of before July 1st.
Yeah, sure. And so when we're preparing assessments, we're using the land title transfer dates. So sometimes the MLS dates won't correspond exactly with the land title transfer dates because there's often 2 or 3 months behind. So when we're preparing assessments, we're required to use the land title transfer
Okay.
dates. So
could you clarify how many were outside of the window?
yeah, and it would have been in the disclosure that I
Okay.
provided you on page 23, 24, 25, all of those sales that were highlighted in blue. Plus, in addition, I put on there what the land title transfer dates were for you as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Lowen, I will stay with you. If you have no further questions, I will just ask if there's anything from the board, questions. Then I will ask you, Mr. Lowen, that it is your turn for a summation on where you stand and what you'd like to leave the board with. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your work, respondent. I know it feels like a bit of a David and Goliath thing here, but I also, being not a professional at this, I probably could have responded better to Mr. Breyer's question in terms of is there a mathematical analysis. A big part of it too, which I think I'll continue to rebut, is looking at the difference in quality between our house and our neighbors' homes. We're looking at the assessment values of our neighboring homes, and I'm afraid I don't find it reasonable that a number of these houses are assessed for less than us. Something like being a timber frame home is not just a feature of the home, it is the defining characteristic of the home. And so it seems a bit unfair or unusual that would be sort of considered as a minor piece. It's definitely a defining characteristic. I think the other thing is I understand that that we have a professional here doing a market evaluation and there's all these aggregate elements that go into it. But I would invite anybody on the board to take a drive down our street, and I think I'm kind of trying to take the common sense approach here. I know realtors aren't professionals in the same way, but none of these houses assessed for less than ours would be assessed. Our house would be assessed for sale price considerably less by any realtor. And if the idea is to affect actual market conditions, it feels a bit unusual. And I know there's lots of things that are a problem with median market prices. That makes sense to me. Median sale prices has also impacted us in a negative way. We had a home that had a $2 million renovation that was included in this as well. So it certainly helped bring prices up, but we're trying to look for a larger market model. And so I think the other question, again, I'm going to sort of circle back to the key point, we have homes that are not selling, that are nicer than ours, for less than we were assessed at currently. I know that we're now in a slightly different window of time than we were before, but some of them have been for sale since this window, and they're reflecting lack of sale. And the other thing is, what is the accountability for overassessment, right? You know, we're just working people and taxpayers, and what does that look like? And I'll go back to the fact that when you're looking at 276 Eagle Terrace Road, it was assessed for $150,000 more than the adjusted sale price. So that shows me that there is definitely risk of overassessment in our neighborhood, and we believe that we're part of that, as it's likely not a perfect process. And I understand that individual assessment is not possible, and that we do need to do these aggregate assessments. However, I'm here as an individual and bringing together the individual variables that I believe are sort of the key variables in this case. So thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Lowen. Ms. Bannerman?
Sure, and just to clarify, on the complainant's last point, with regards to properties where they would have a higher assessment than they would sale price, and conversely too, there would be properties that have a higher sale price than their assessment. So just as part of the mass appraisal process, we're looking at all the sales of properties into developing those our mass appraisal models and applying them back for the assessment purposes. So we're going to have a whole range of values within that, because buyer and seller behavior isn't predictable at all. That's why we're using all of the sales. So we're going to have, as mentioned, as part of the mass appraisal, we're going to have some sales that are higher than the assessment and some that are lower than the assessment. It's just as long as overall all of those sales are showing a close relationship, like in their entirety, the entire group of them, the stratification, are showing a close relationship to the overall assessment for all of those properties, is where we're being measured and tested, just for clarity. So just to summarize, again, we do want to submit that the assessment has been prepared in accordance with Alberta legislation, reflects the market value as of July 1st, 2025, and is supported by validated market evidence. We don't feel that the complainant has provided market evidence demonstrating that the subject property's assessment exceeds the market value or is inequitable relative to comparable properties. Instead, the evidence primarily consists of assessment comparisons, generalized market statements, sales of significantly different properties, and transactions that occurred after the valuation date, which we've discussed. There's also been question regarding the quality of construction and finishing for the subject property's home. And I do have to say, you know, when they're classified originally during construction, we are looking at the benchmarks throughout the neighborhood. So we're looking at applying that same quality of classification consistently across all the properties that are similar. And no evidence has been provided, even through photos, to demonstrate that the quality classification is not consistent with other comparable properties on the street. In contrast, the respondent has provided sales of properties similar to the subject property, which does support the assessment value. And we respectfully request that the Assessment Review Board confirm the assessment at $2,481,000. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Bannerman. Mr. Lowen, any final comments from you?
Well, first of all, thank you everybody for your time in hearing us today. Yeah, I think, so yes, you're right. We didn't create a 99-page document and fill it full of photos, and we had some handwritten forms submitted. The reality is, I'm a working person. This is time away from what I do because I feel like we've been overassessed. So does my spouse, right? So we're trying to make this as sort of simple as we can, and can't afford to hire somebody to represent us. That being said, I think I'll just return to the fact that I don't believe that the process is working in this case. There's such significant differences between our house and some immediate neighbors. I don't think you could convince any builder or realtor that they should be somehow aggregated in the way that they have been. And so, however this process works, and I understand it has to be done through curb photos and various things and all kinds of algorithms and probably AI analyzing all sorts of things. In this case, it's not working, and our house isn't fitting the model. And so I implore the board to take that into consideration, as I think it is an individual issue. And thank you for your time and for my neophyte presentation. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone for your cooperation and for your helpful presentations. At this time, I would like to ask the parties if they feel that they have been heard today and if they feel that they have received a fair hearing.
Yes, we do. Sorry, turn this off.
Ms. Bannerman? Yep. I will now declare the hearing closed. No further evidence or submissions may be received by the board. The Municipal Government Act requires a written decision within 30 days and gives the clerk an additional 7 days to issue the decision. We will make every effort to meet or beat those requirements, and the clerk will forward our decision to you at our earliest opportunity. We will now take a 10-minute break before our next hearing. Thank you. Good morning and welcome to this Canmore Local Assessment Review Board hearing. I would like to remind everyone that the ARB hearings are open to the public and that this hearing will be recorded and streamed live. The video recording will be our record of hearing. We are here today to review the complaint and subsequent evidence as filed for tax roll number 17543, property address of 116 Durgas Gate. I will start by introducing the panel and then ask the parties to introduce themselves. After that, I will explain our standard hearing procedure and ask for comments in that regard. My name is Anita Furlan, and I'm the presiding officer appointed to this panel. The other panel members with me today are...
Good morning. My name is Jen Marin. I'm a panel member and also representative of Town of Canmore Council.
Good morning, my name is Christoph Breyer.
Does anyone have an objection to the panel as constituted? Great. I'm now going to have the parties introduce themselves, starting with the complainant. Mr. Thimig, if you could come up to the podium and just press that button, please. And if, for the record, would you state your name, organization, your role in the hearing, and indicate if you are the owner of the property?
Yeah, I'm Daniel Themig. I'm the owner of the property and resident, and I'm representing myself.
Great, thank you. Ms. Bannerin?
My name is Deanne Bannerman. I'm with Legacy Municipal Services, and I'm the appointed assessor for the town of Canmore.
Thank you. The LARB standard practice is to have the complainant present all of their evidence first, followed by the questions from the respondent and then the panel. Next, the respondent presents their evidence, followed once again by questions from the complainant and then the panel. Finally, both parties will have an opportunity to present their final argument and summarize their evidence for the panel, with the complainant presenting first. If anyone needs a break or if a problem comes up, please let the panel know as soon as possible, as we can address those things as we go. I will also take this time to remind everyone to please turn off any mobile devices. Are there any questions regarding the procedure today, or is everyone satisfied with the process as laid out?
I just have a question.
Sure, if I could ask you to just come to the podium so we can keep that on the record. Thank you. Oh, yeah, just, there we go, perfect.
It's on now? Okay. Does the panel take notes in this proceeding?
We do.
Okay, and are those notes available after to a complainant? So, because last year I did this and I got the decision and I didn't get any notes at all from the panel. So are those accessible to a complainant after to understand your notes that you'd made during the proceeding?
I'm going to actually ask Mr. Clerk, because this is my first year here in the panel, so I'm not sure of that post-disclosure.
I will confirm that, but I believe typically no. It is just the final decision is that final record. But I will confirm that over the next 10 minutes, and I can let you know if the answer changes. But as of now, I believe no. There's the final decision.
Okay, so, and then how is the decision reached? Because last year when I did the complaint, I had a lot of questions on a lot of things. Not one of the questions of discussions were actually addressed in the final decision. It was just as if the summary that had been sent prior was the same as the decision. Nobody commented. None of the issues were addressed. And I was wondering, well, did the panel not take any notes, not write anything? Was there no discussion of why the panel made the decision? Or is it just like the answer is no, we'll just send them the same respondent as like I've received to date, was almost verbatim. There was nothing addressed in the final decision. And I thought the discussion was quite good with the panel. But you're saying that the notes are destroyed, or are they gone, or not available?
Oh, sure.
And so, as Madam Chair had mentioned, the record of the hearing is on YouTube. So you'll have records of all of that. You can watch the YouTube. They don't do minutes for these hearings. They don't have official minutes. They have the record of hearing, it's the actual video, the recording.
And I will speak.
But people were taking notes last time.
Yes, so
So-
I can speak to that if you just give me a moment. Yes, so for those of us on the panel, typically what we'll look at is your initial complainant submission and what the issues that you have brought up for us as a panel to consider. And that should form part of your decision document that you receive back. The issue that has been brought up or issues should be addressed by the panel. And it is a deliberation that we will do once the hearing is closed to make the final determination on your complaint and what the assessed value will be. And then one of us will be designated to then write that decision for you.
Okay, so is it one of you that writes the final decision, or is it?
No, it's one of us, the panel members.
Okay. And so if there's an appeal, like there was an option to appeal to the court afterwards, and if that appeal takes place, there's no, what you're saying is there's no written notes from the panel of
Yeah.
the discussion, it's just the only record is video?
Typically, yeah. So once the notes are taken, they have during deliberation, and then once that written decision has been made, those notes are then deemed transitory. Typically, they are then deleted. And then if a court of appeal happens at a higher stage, it is over the merits of how the hearing took place, not necessarily the drafting of the decision.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
the items on record are the evidence that's written into the record and then the video of the hearing. So whether we take notes or not, like some panel members may choose to take notes, some may not, but they're not actually part of any sort of official public record. So the
Okay.
public record is, the evidence that's written or that's that Ben's going to put into the record, and then the video is also part of public record.
Okay, all right. That was one of my questions. And then just as the makeup of the assessment board or whatever, is it all government officials, or do we have, you work for another company, right? Is that correct? So I don't think it used to be that way, because I used to be able to call City Hall and talk to somebody, and now,
Yeah, and so although I work for a company, I'm the appointed assessor for the town of Canmore, so that means that through council, I'm the appointed assessor for the town.
And
Council
for-
has appointed me.
And for those of us on the panel, there are some council members, as Ms. Marin is beside me, but for myself, and I'm going to, Christoph can speak for himself, I'm just a Canmore citizen who offered my services to be on this board.
okay, you're all,
Appointed volunteers,
Appointed
you're all
vol-
volunteers?
yes.
Thank you for that. That's great. Okay.
Residents.
Those were my,
Yeah.
those were my
Residents.
questions to start with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And if
so
yours, it's, oh, sorry. go
That's
ahead.
okay. I was going to say the board in general, there are a couple of appointed council members who may sit on the panel, but the rest of the panel members on the ARB are community members. Yeah, in Canmore.
Yeah, and each board member is set to a term that gets, there's a public application every year in October at the annual org meeting. Each board and committee gets assigned based off council and who applied. So
And
it's an
it's-
annual cycle, so it's continuous.
And it's all legislated. So it's
Yeah.
not like a made in Canmore solution.
No,
It's a
yeah, yeah.
requirement for the entire province.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I see both parties have exchanged disclosure evidence before the hearing. To save time, I propose that we mark all documents for the record now. That won't stop anyone raising questions about admissibility later. If any such questions arise, we can still deal with them and strike material from the record later if necessary. Is everyone comfortable with this procedure? Yeah. Okay, Mr. Clerk?
Thank you. So we received the following evidence for tax roll 17543, complainant package C1, complaint form 18 pages, and respondent package R1, respondent disclosure 52 pages.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Are there any preliminary issues to address to the panel? Okay, great. All right, Mr. Themick, go ahead with your evidence.
And I just want to, at this time, since the complainant has put his screen up on the overhead for the board, I just want to caution the complainant to ensure that any information that's either orally spoken to or put on the screen has been properly disclosed prior to the hearing.
Okay, are we ready to start?
Yes, go ahead, and I will just reiterate, as Ms. Bannerman said, that whatever is being presented here should have formed part of your disclosure to,
It is.
Perfect.
It's either my disclosure or it's the respondent material. I don't have anything else.
perfect, go ahead, thank you.
Okay, so, and this is from the respondent. This is showing the homes that were listed as comparatives and their location. So my first comment is that this doesn't entail, based on last year's discussions, all the homes that were sold in the area. And if I have one kind of an issue with the process that we've got here is as a Canmore resident, I don't have access to the sales numbers of all the homes in the area. I've tried to find them, I've tried to get them, and from a complainant standpoint, there's like this disclosure of evidence in court cases where you have to disclose everything to your opponent. So she has all the data for all the homes that were for sale, and so my first comment is this doesn't entail this. And based on last year's discussions and last year's questions after the respondent presented her evidence, she said that no, they don't disclose all the sales, just the ones that they decide to disclose. And to me, it's kind of patently a little bit unfair that that's the case. So these are the selected ones that were decided to select, and I'll have some questions about them later. The specific one that I've referenced, and I only pulled one out because all I have is MLS data. So this is current, and for the record, last year I had the same situation. A property had been on the market for 9 months at the same price as the one that I'm listing here. My realtor said these are the closest comparatives, the Miscuin place to my place. This is the closest location. This is the closest geographic comparative I've got. And this home's actually larger in square footage than mine is. And there are some other, my understanding is there are a couple other sales that were much closer, much more relevant, and much more in the comparative, and they've been left out, okay? So that's my first comment. The second comment on this is that listing that I put into evidence, which is this, is larger in square footage, is the closest one that's currently for sale. This may have been the same one that was for sale last year, but it's $2 million. So I'm according to my discussions with my realtor, I'm overvalued by almost 30%. So somewhere, somehow, and I've gone through the respondent, it goes like this: lower quality, it's not a comparative, and a couple of other things. There's square footage on different floors. My lot is slightly larger. Somehow that comes out to $650,000 in difference in value. I struggle to find out any way that homes that are built within a couple years, and I believe this was built by the same builder that built mine. Haven't been able to verify that, but that's my closest comparative. And these homes were built all in the same time period. That somehow somebody needs to explain to me how, number one, that they can judge that there's a difference in building quality. I mean, you guys can look at this house and you could look at my home that will be presented in the respondent. They're beautiful homes, both of them are. So somewhere somebody has decided that there is $650,000 in difference between something that's currently on the market here. We had the exact same situation last year. It was 1.9 million, 1.99 million. That at that point in time, and now I am $650,000. I can't for the life of me understand how somebody can make that judgment. That's my first comment. My second comment is that when they start to go through the comparatives, which are right here, they've somehow adjusted, they've taken homes that were sold in, hang on, I'm trying to find the year that these sales took place. Sorry, I thought it was listed in here. Yeah, 2022 for 2.7 million, but we don't actually have the sales price on these. These are somehow adjusted, and I have no idea what that means. So is this a sale that was $2 million and is somehow adjusted to 2.7 million? So now we're taking sales that were over 4 years ago and saying, now this is comparative, plus they've adjusted it, and I assume they didn't adjust it down, that they've adjusted it up. I don't know what those numbers are. It's not disclosed in here. So I have no way to even equate what those are. Plus, I can't get the actual sales price. So if I had a suggestion to your office, if a complainant comes in, they should be able to get access to what the sales numbers for the homes in the area are, as these guys have access to. So is it possible, I guess, because you guys kind of run this from the city, can we not request that? Is there not a process where we can get those sales prices so we actually are on an even playing field with regard to looking those up?
Typically, that is outside of the role of the clerk. We're kind of just putting all the same parties together. We don't provide any information. We're not the source of any information.
But where did they get the information from?
Yeah.
So the sales that we use in preparing assessments are, they come directly from Alberta Land Titles. So Alberta Land Title documents are public documents, so you could go through Alberta Land Titles to get any of the sales information you'd like.
So I tried to do that. I went on ChatGPT, I went on Google, I tried everywhere to find the sales data. And if they're on land title, is that not stored in Canmore somehow? Okay, so those sales prices are, all right.
They are accessible through the Alberta Land Titles. It's a public document.
What's that?
The sale price
So
is
the
listed
sale
in the
price of
document.
107 Durgas Gate is in the document.
This?
Yes, it's in the document. Page 33.
Yeah, so if you look further into our respondent's disclosure, that information, the Alberta Land Title information, is available on pages 33 to 46. So all of the actual sale transactions from Alberta Land Titles are available. They were available to you.
Okay. All the sales of all the homes that sold in the area, or these ones that are listed?
No, we've only provided the Alberta Land Title documents for the properties that we felt were the most comparable to yours, to the subject property in terms of location, quality of construction and finishing, as well as structure type. So we've chosen the most comparable to yours and provided the support for it.
Okay, so therein lies my disadvantage. They know all those homes that have been sold in the area. But anyway, I guess that's mine to deal with. The other thing is when they present a table, summary table like this, and don't tell us what the actual sales price was, then you have to go back into the document, and I wasn't able to find that. I didn't know that was there. But here's what my comments are on this. I've provided a current listing. I provided the same thing in last year's hearing. So comments about, well, this isn't relevant because it's not June of 2020, June 25th. I believe that this was on listing at that point in time. So this is an actual current listing. The other ones are 2022 2 would be 4 years ago, and 2024 is 2 years ago, 2024 is 2 years ago, and they're adjusted sales prices, so I don't know what that formula is. Is that provided, how you adjusted these prices?
You can do. Apologies, I'm not used to getting questioned during the complainant's presentation.
This is helpful. Thank you very much for accommodating this,
Sure,
because
it's up to the chair.
Yeah, I'm giving some latitude because I think this might help any futures, issues that you might have, to have some of the background on how this actually works and where the information is, because much of what you've been discussing is in the respondent's disclosure to you, including sales prices and when those sales went through on the land title documents.
Okay, so that was on these properties, but it's on no other properties, correct?
That's correct. There was only one property that was raised by the complainant, and that was the property on Mescal Close that was listed. We've responded appropriately by providing 3 comparables of properties that we deemed were the most comparable to the subject property that fell within that valuation period of July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2025. So we're not required to provide all sales in a neighborhood when we're defending the assessments. We're only required to provide sales that support the market value of the subject property, which we felt these were the best ones to support the value.
And the formula that you used to adjust these was what, and where is that contained in the evidence?
Yeah, so what you can do is divide the sale price adjusted to July 1st, 2025 by the sale price that is on the land title document, and you would see what the adjusted amount is.
Sorry.
Yeah, you could divide the sale price, which is adjusted to July 1st, 2025, which we have on the report here, and you could divide it by the actual sale price that appears later on in the disclosure for the land title documents for the actual sale price. And so that difference between the sale price on the land title document and this time-adjusted sale price, there would be a percentage there, and then you could see what the amount was over time.
Yeah, and I guess my question is, sorry, because what I'm trying to get to is how was that formula made? Did you do 10% a year, 5% a year? I understand how I can get to
Yeah.
that this is 1.5 times or 1.3 times.
Sure. So when we're developing time adjustments for properties with the residential, for all properties, but specific to your property, when we're preparing time adjustments, we're looking at all of the detached housing, residential housing within the town of Canmore, and we're analyzing it through multiple regression analysis to see what the difference is on a monthly basis. So every month from that July 1st, 2022 up until June 30th, 2025, it is not necessarily going to be the same percentage adjustment because the market doesn't change or behave on a straight line. Some months, especially summers, the market goes up a little bit more. Winters, it kind of flattens, then summer goes up again. So it's not a straight line. It would be based on the actual market information that we have.
Okay, that's very confusing, but I'll accept that.
And I might, just as the chair, just ask, this initial is for you to present to us your
understand.
your evidence, and then what might be helpful is that we allow then the respondent to go ahead and present her evidence,
Thank
which
you.
I believe will probably answer a number of the questions that you have. And if not, you will certainly have opportunity after the respondent gives her evidence to be able to question her as well at that time.
Thank you. And thanks for your indulgence, because this has been helpful for me to understand what, to I think an average person would be pretty confusing. So my comments are that my property has a smaller square footage, 2,300 I think versus 2,800. So it's not it's not that that this is a much bigger home. So somehow I need to come up with $651,000 worth of difference that equates how a smaller home can be worth $650,000 more than a home that's larger, that's a few doors down, number one. Number two, I do have a larger lot. Lots don't normally equate to a 30% difference in costs. There's no fences in this area. I don't believe that they're allowed by the bylaws. There are none at all. Backs up to the walkways. And people that are purchasing the home will simply look at the structure. And the lots are all relatively large in comparison on this. And so smaller lot, I get that. Floor area is actually larger, not smaller, and lower quality construction, okay? So I'll have some questions on that, but no one has been in my home to look at our cabinets and carpets, and my understanding is no one has been in the other listed home to do a comparison. I mean, I've done the best quality comparative that I could do, and I see no difference at all in the quality of the build. In fact, I believe these were built by the same builder and in the same time frame in a beautiful neighborhood, and they don't build crappy homes and nice homes, equating to $650,000 in difference. So I'm 30% higher than a current listing, and the evidence was, I know it's not here, but it was presented the same thing last year. So here we are with something that's currently on the market that I think represents a fair value. And according to discussions with my realtor, she said, yeah, that would be in the ballpark. So how we can get to a $650,000 home and why the closest sales are not actually listed, they're left out to support the case, their case, I think is kind of patently unfair. I think from the process of us as taxpayers and property owners feeling, fair, I think that that when we have a complaint, the city certainly has the sales data that we should be allotted to be able to see what the recent sales are, or have some process, or maybe come in or make a request on that, which we're not currently able to do. So with that, my request has been that with the nearest comparative home to mine, with what my realtor says is probably the best comparatives is the Miscouin Place, because we're right on the border. We just cross over. We're less than 100 yards away from this home, which is larger in square footage. I think is as good a quality, if not better, than my home. And instead comparing to homes that are well down the street. I have actually been in one of these homes. I looked at it when I was getting ready to potentially buy. They're beautiful, as is most of the stuff. But the most best comparative isn't something that sold in 2022. It's not something selling in 2024. It's the closest home that I have. And I really disagree with a blanket statement, so I'm hoping to be able to get some breakdown into $650,000. How much of that is a lot? How much is it some term that is lower quality construction? Because that is totally untrue. From a neighbor to a neighbor's home, that certainly isn't the case. And then square footage, a little bit above and below is different, but more square footage. And then I'm told that, no, your house is worth $651,000 more than this home, which essentially is a $2 million home. So my request has been that my value of my home should be in the ballpark of the one that's currently for sale, which is what the relevant market is, not an adjusted value from 2022, which is 4 years ago, by some regression equation that we don't know anything about. So that's my evidence. I would ask that you consider that that this is far overvalued. Our home wouldn't sell for that, and the home that I listed in evidence last year had been on the market for 9.5 months at $1.99 million. So that's my evidence.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Thiemek.
Okay. I don't have to do any questions?
I would just ask, yes, that you stay there for a moment, and we'll see if we do have questions. Ms. Bannerman, any questions for Mr. Thimig?
Yeah, and I just have two questions. So there's been discussion from the complainant regarding the quality of construction and finishing between his and neighboring properties or the comparables that we've used. Have you provided any evidence, documentary, photographs, anything regarding this to demonstrate that the quality is actually incorrect?
It's not responsibility to disprove a claim of yours. You have to prove your claim, not, it's impossible to disprove
That's,
something somebody
yeah, and
says.
that's fine. I'm just asking yes or no. Did you provide any evidence in your complainant's package regarding?
The photos are in evidence from the MLS listing.
Okay. And also there was a statement made regarding lot size about how it couldn't be 30% greater, or there was some reference to that. And have you provided any evidence to demonstrate that larger or smaller lots trade around the same value?
No, in fact, I'd be okay if the respondent said, the value of your lot makes your place worth $50,000 more. I don't think too many people would think that a slightly larger lot would make your property worth $650,000 more.
But again, you have not provided any evidence to support that statement? It's just a yes or no, it's fine.
Have I provided?
Any evidence,
Sorry, can
have you provided any evidence in your complainant's package to demonstrate the statements that you've just made?
With regard to the
The
value of lot size?
The lot size, yes.
No, I don't have that evidence.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions from the board?
No questions?
Oh.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm looking at your complaints form, page 1, and you request an assessed value of $1,999,999. How did you come up with that number?
The closest comparative that has more square footage is the one that I've listed, and that's exactly what they're listed at. So I think, and talking to my realtor, that is generally where where my value would be. It's not 1 point.
So the list price of that property, that's the
Of
number?
the closest available one that's current market value.
So that list price is that number? That's where it's coming from?
That's where it came from.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you.
Great, thank you. You may have a seat,
Thanks.
and I'll ask Ms. Bannerman to give her evidence.
Sure, thank you. And I just, before I start my presentation, I just want to explain to the complainant regarding the allegations that there are no sales provided. So during the inquiry period, there's a 67-day period once the assessment notices are mailed out before the complaint deadline, where property owners have the ability to reach out to the property assessors. And when they do, we provide them with an explanation about the assessment process in Alberta, as well as information on the subject property or their property. And we do provide sales at that time that we have deemed that are the most comparable to theirs as well. So just for some background for the complainant. So we respectfully request that the board confirm the 2025 assessment for the 2026 taxation year for roll number 17543 at 116 Durgis Gate at its assessed value of $2,651,000. So on page 3, the respondent will demonstrate 3 key principles. First, that assessments must be prepared annually in accordance with Alberta legislation. Second, the legislated valuation standard for the subject property is market value. And third, that assessments must be prepared in a fair and equitable manner using mass appraisal processes. This is all required by Alberta legislation. So now if you could turn to pages 4 through 6. We have a photograph of the exterior property as well as some location and aerial mapping. So the subject property is a detached residential dwelling situated on a large lot and benefits from a green space influence to the rear. The images provided assist the board in understanding the physical characteristics of the property and the location of the property relative to the surrounding neighborhood. So now on page 7, this assessment summary identifies the key characteristics of the subject property. This property is a residential detached within the R1BW, which is the residential detached plus wide lot district. So beginning on page 8, we're just going to give a little bit of a background on the legislative and valuation framework which governs the preparation of assessments. Property assessments in Alberta must be prepared in accordance with the Municipal Government Act and the matters relating to assessment and taxation regulations. These legislative provisions require that municipalities prepare assessments to reflect market value using mass appraisal techniques. Market value is defined as the amount that a property might be expected to realize if it is sold on an open market by a willing seller to a willing buyer. For the 2025 assessment year, assessments must reflect the market value as of July 1st, 2025. Mass appraisal involves grouping similar properties together, identifying common characteristics, and developing valuation models that reflect the actions of buyers and sellers in the marketplace. These same valuation models are then applied back to the stratification fairly. So now on page 10, detached residential properties in Canmore are valued using the market modified cost approach. So this methodology combines the strengths of both the cost approach and the sales comparison approach. Improvements are initially valued using cost principles, and then they're adjusted to reflect the actual market behavior that's observed through validated sales transactions. This is the valuation process that's used for all residential detached properties within the town of Canmore. Also, sales information is obtained through Alberta Land Titles and subsequently validated through various procedures, including inspections, review of documentation, and market analysis. For the 2025 assessment year, sales occurring between July 1st, 2022 and June 30th, 2025 were analyzed. Time adjustments were then applied to the sale prices where necessary to account for market movement occurring between the date of the sale and the legislated valuation date. This process ensures that all sales are adjusted to a common point in time and can be compared consistently. So now on page 12, this page demonstrates the calculation of the subject assessment using the market modified cost approach. The assessment report identifies the subject property's land area of approximately 13,993 square feet and the improvements consisting of a good custom 2-story detached dwelling with walkout basement and an attached garage. The assessment reflects the recorded physical characteristics of the property, including floor area, basement finish, quality of construction, garage, or any other improvement features. This valuation model resulted in an assessed value of $2,651,000. So starting on page 13, we address the principle that assessments are prepared annually. Section 285 of the Municipal Government Act requires municipalities to prepare assessments annually. As a result, each year's assessment is a new assessment. Prior assessments do not establish value for future years. We've provided several board and court decisions which reinforces that prior assessments and prior board decisions do not determine the current market value. Assessments must be prepared according to the legislation and the market evidence applicable to assessment year under appeal. So on page 15, we'll address post facto sales. The board will note that the valuation date for this assessment year is July 1st, 2025. Evidence occurring after that date may only be used in limited circumstances to confirm market trends and cannot be used to establish value as of the valuation date. The decisions that we've cited from court and boards clearly establish that post facto sales cannot be used directly to set value. They may only be used to confirm trends if market conditions remain unchanged. Sales or listings that occur after the valuation date were not known or knowable when preparing the assessments and may reflect a change in the market from that legislated valuation date. So then on page 16, we further demonstrate that Alberta's assessment legislation and audit procedures require assessors to rely on sales occurring prior to June 30th, 2025. The Minister's Guidelines and Assessment Audit Manual establish a uniform standard regarding what sales data may be used in assessment development. And so now on page 9, we'd like to validate the assessment by using comparable sales. And the sales selected are located within the same neighborhood as the subject property. They possess the same quality of construction and finishing and are all two-story with basement homes. Importantly, the subject property has the largest lot area among the comparable properties, the second largest floor area, and the largest finished basement area. These characteristics support the assessed value assigned to the property in relationship to the comparable sales that we've provided. And so there has been some discussion the complainant has raised a few issues as to why we're limited in the amount of sales that we're providing. So when we're looking at providing comparables to support the assessment, not in the preparation, although they are used, but when we're looking specifically at defending and supporting the assessment in a tribunal situation such as this, we're looking at the best sales comparables. So we're looking at the criteria in terms of the most similar in location, the most similar in quality of construction and finishing, structure type, so being a two-story with basement. And we're looking to try and find as similar lot areas or floor areas that we can to support the assessed value. And we can see that on our pages 19, there still are some of the larger lots, although the subject property is the largest. They are the second largest square footage that we have identified. And the assessment in relationship to the other property assessments is very, it reflects some of those major differences. And on page 20, we do show a map, which the complainant has also put up on the screen for us, illustrating the location of the respondents' comparable sales relative to the subject property. They are all located within the same market area and are very similar in location to the subject property and are subject to the similar market influences. So on page 21, we address the evidence provided by the complainant. The complainant relies primarily on the 2026 listing at 215 Miscow Close. The respondent submits that this property does not demonstrate that the subject property is overassessed. As we've outlined, 215 Miscow Close has a smaller lot. It does have smaller above-grade floor area, smaller basement finish, and a lower quality of construction and finishing than the subject property. Furthermore, the complainant has relied on a listing rather than a completed sale. A listing represents only a seller's asking price. It does not represent a completed market transaction between a willing buyer and a willing seller, and therefore does not provide reliable evidence of market value. In addition, the listing date relied upon by the complainant is April of 2026, which is approximately 9 months after the July 1st, 2025 valuation date. As previously discussed, post-valuation information, especially one that hasn't actually had a completed transaction, should not be used to establish value as of the legislated valuation date. So then just to summarize, our position is fairly straightforward. The complainant has not provided reliable market evidence demonstrating that the assessment of the subject property should be reduced to $1,999,999. The property relied upon by the complainant is smaller, lower quality of construction, it's not a completed sale, and it's based on information occurring after the valuation date. In contrast, the respondent's assessment is supported by verified market sales. The assessments reflect the market value as of July 1st, 2025, and that they have been prepared using legislated methodologies and is fair and equitable when compared to similar properties within the municipality. Accordingly, the respondent respectfully requests that the board confirm the assessment of the subject property at $2,651,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bannerman. Mr. Themick, do you have any questions for Ms. Bannerman?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. The position is that the large lot has an increase in value over the one presented. What is your estimate of what value that adds? Because you've broken it down into three different things, and I just want to go through how you came to a $2.65 million valuation. So what would, you're the expert, you asked me if I presented evidence of the lot size and what that would increase or decrease. What is your evidence and where has that been presented?
Sure. And so when I asked that question prior, it was because I hadn't seen any evidence of that in the complainant's submission. And because of that, we don't feel that that was raised appropriately as an issue. So at this point, talking specifics to the subject property on something that hasn't been raised as an issue and wasn't provided evidence with, we're not prepared to answer that at this time.
Okay. How would I present it? I don't have that evidence. What do I have to do to get you to break that down next time that I'm in this situation?
Yeah, and so what I would suggest is really to take advantage of the process that we have once assessment notices are mailed, is to enter into dialogue with the assessors at that time so that a lot of these questions can be answered prior to having to file a complaint and prior to having to go through this process. We are available for phone calls or emails, and we really do try to spend a lot of time helping property owners understand their assessment, and those kind of questions could be raised at that point.
But that doesn't enter it into the formal complaint. So
No,
I'm
and-
going to ask again. I'm not trying to be difficult. But if you're saying you won't answer a question because it's not in the complaint, and then I ask you how would I put it in the complaint, and you say you should give us a phone call, that doesn't really solve my problem.
Sure, and so once we get to the complaint process, once a complaint is filed with the Assessment Review Board, the responsibility changes from for us. So what our role is as respondent is we're responding to the issues that have been brought forward by the complainant. So if those issues were brought forward, we would have been prepared to respond to them, but however, at this time, they have not been. So if you wanted to go through the formal process, that would be things that you actually would have to provide in your evidence prior to the hearing, according to the disclosure deadlines, and that would be something that at that point we would be responding to.
Okay, so how would I pose that I am requesting from the assessment that they break down what the value is between 8,000 or 9,000 square foot lot and a 12,000 square foot lot? How can I, because you're the ones that are making the assessment, and all I'm trying to do is what goes into that assessment and how does that take place so that I have some basis. Because next time I will put it in the complaint, you won't answer now because it's not in the complaint. I'm trying to find out how to put it in the complaint. And so just...
And if I can just interject, Mr. Themick, I think Ms. Bannerman did actually explain that to you in that when you receive your next tax assessment, your best course of action is to, during the inquiry period, is to reach out to the assessor. And at that point in time, you can have more fulsome dialogue as to what should be included within a formal complaint, should you go that route again next year, and all the aspects of your house that should be considered. Unfortunately, because that evidence is not before us today, we can't consider anything to do with your lot size during this year's decision-making process. So hopefully that clarifies that.
Okay, I'm still not totally clear, but I'll accept, and next time I will make a phone call, and then perhaps they can tell me how to put it into evidence, because I don't currently know how to do that.
Sure, and it really should never get to the point where, and in the majority, we get a lot of inquiries after the assessment notices are mailed, and the majority of them don't result in a complaint being filed or a property owner having to go through the complaint process before the board. So really, it is just a suggestion to take us up on that time frame prior to a complaint being filed to ask a lot of these questions that you have.
Okay, and I will do that. The judgment on the home I presented was low quality, mine was higher quality. Will you explain how that process takes place? Who made that judgment? And is there a document or something in writing from your group that says, yeah, we went and looked at this house and we looked at this house, this one's lower quality? Because 2 years in a row now, I've presented a comparative home. 2 years in a row, conveniently, that home's low quality and mine's higher quality. So what's the process by which you judge lower quality? And what is the percent of the $650,000 that goes into that my house is worth $650,000 more because of quality?
Yeah, sure. So there's a couple pieces in there that I'll just touch on. So first, I believe you said your evidence last year was the same property, the 215 Miscow Close?
I think it was.
Yeah,
And it still
okay.
hasn't sold, and so your comments about doesn't
But
cover
my
the...
point to this is that the quality didn't change from last year to this year, and it would be very unusual for properties' quality classification to change. If there was a question regarding the quality classification, which there wasn't, in the complainant's disclosure, we would have arranged to do an interior inspection of the subject property to confirm that he's appropriately classed. However, at this time, there's nothing that we have where we were able to respond to that. The other piece of it is that quality classifications are set at the initial construction of the property, and so those are based on criteria such as the quality of construction finishings, which we say over and over, but it has to do with the size of the property, it has to do with the layout of the property, even the roof lines, amount of windows, vaulted ceilings versus non-vaulted ceilings. So there's a list of criteria that we look at, but aside from just a criteria, there is a subjectivity to it, which is why it's so important that we're looking at the houses when they're under construction, because we're looking at it in terms of benchmarking with the neighborhood, so that you have two houses that are exactly the same. We're going to make sure that they've got the same quality initially when they're constructed. And then the only time a quality would change is if there's an addition or substantive renovation to it over time. Or if somebody comes and says, hey, you got it wrong, and then we go out and look at it.
Okay, and so I understand everything and I agree with everything you say. What I'm asking is, did somebody go in to the original construction documents and say they use marble and they use granite, or, because those aren't normally even publicly available. So that I'm just trying to figure out.
Yeah, so we get our information on new properties, new construction. We get our information from the town planning office. So we get a copy of every building plan that's for every property that's being constructed. In addition to that, we do a regular reinspection cycle. So every 5 years, we go out and knock on doors and try to determine if there's been any changes to subject property since its original construction. Usually that's things like renovations that we're looking for. And then on top of that, we also look at MLS information, whether it's listing or sales, and we're comparing the information that MLS has, because they often have a lot of interior photographs. We're comparing that information for every listing out there and sale compared to our data, and if there's issues there, then we would also make adjustments.
Okay, and you say you knock on doors and look. I know that we haven't had that request on our property. Is there a record of those homes that you've gone in to inspect from from this standpoint?
Yeah, so we have, as part of our regular reinspection cycle, we did the Miscow area in 2021. If the property owner wanted to know what the changes were, and likely, I don't have the information in front of me, as mentioned, it wasn't raised as an issue. You could ask what the inspection comments were. Majority of time, when we're looking at properties, if you didn't get a door knocker, it's because we can see that, like if we knock on the door, lots of people in camera aren't home when we do that. But if there was something that we needed to specifically verify, we would leave a little door knocker on there for you to contact the assessor. And anytime throughout the year or during the complaint period, if you do feel that your property data is incorrect, we are happy to come out and conduct an inspection of the property when we're in town.
Okay. So I would, on a phone call, say, my property is not higher quality than the other one.
You would say, I don't feel that it's the same, and we would go out and verify that information.
Okay, great. And from a quality standpoint, of the $651,000 higher value that I am in a Miscuin Place, the quality issue is,
So I'm going to interject. Again, I think all of these are very relevant questions, and should form part of your inquiry next year. As the board, we can only hear evidence that is before us relevant to your complaint, and none of this is included within the disclosure. I've allowed you a fair bit of latitude, and Ms. Bannerman has been very gracious in also answering a lot of questions that were not before her for this particular property. So I am going to ask you now to restrict your questions to the evidence that Ms. Bannerman has provided regarding your property and the evidence and disclosure that's before the panel. I again will reiterate, these are all excellent questions as a homeowner that you have, and I think should form part of your inquiry next year, but that is not for us to consider now, other than the actual disclosure before us and all that has been disclosed by yourself or Ms. Bannerman.
well, that's what I was questioning on her disclosure, on her.
She has provided a lot of additional evidence to answer some of your questions, and I've allowed a lot of latitude. But I'm going to have to say that, like, we really do
fair
have to
enough.
get back to the evidence before us, please.
Okay, fair enough. I guess that's it then. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Do we have any questions from the board? Oh, Christophe.
I have only one question. We've heard that there may be other properties sold in the evaluation period in the same neighborhood. You provided, I believe, 3 properties that sold. Do you feel there were other properties that may be similar to the subject property and could have been used, or?
Generally, so it's not a huge marketer. So I don't have that information with me right now because, like I said, we're looking very specifically at the location, the quality of construction finishing, and the structure class as our primary consideration. So I don't have the information to answer to you, but as for other sales within the area that would have formed part of the overall assessment model, yes, we would have had others in that Miscow kind of area.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ms. Bannerman. Mr. Themig, so now is your opportunity to present your final summation of your evidence that's been provided to the board.
Okay, thanks, and I appreciate your indulgence. I'm still learning on the process here. So in summation, going forward, if there were a way that this process involved a bigger sampling from the assessor's office of, as you said, Christopher, why not list all the homes so we can have a realistic look? I feel like that's cherry picking. I felt the same way last year, and I now know where to find some of those. I am hoping that they won't all be dismissed as low quality because they don't support the case. I would actually be okay if the assessment was slightly higher, but I'm 30% over a home that's been for sale, and it is relevant because it's been for sale. It was the same one I presented last year. It's the closest to my home. I believe it may have been built by the same builder, but certainly in the same time frame on that. You know, how I can be 30% higher, $651,000 higher in assessed value, I don't believe that that is an accurate assessment. I talked to my realtor and she said the same thing, that some of these assessments are kind of way out of whack. So a bigger home that's been on the market for over a year, that I think is a really good comparative, that is closest to my home. Some of the other ones are quite a ways away, and one's up on the hill, a little nicer view. One's down at the end that has you know, a much nicer build. But I think the comparative I've offered, I didn't make it overly complicated, is a good comparative. I think that being $651,000 higher in assessed value is not correct, and I'd ask the board please to reconsider the valuation, that it should be much closer to one that's currently on the market, it's been on the market for that long, and is closest comparative that I could find to my home. And my realtor has said the same thing. He said, Dan, most of the ones on Niskanen Place would be the best comparative to yours. So I would ask that you consider revising the assessment somewhere closer to what I've requested. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much. Ms. Bannerman?
So I just want to highlight that the complainant has not provided reliable market evidence demonstrating that the subject property's assessment should be reduced to $1,999,099. In fact, the only evidence provided was for an April 2026 MLS listing. This property that was relied on by the complainant is smaller. It's a lower quality of construction and finishing. It's not a completed sale, and it is based on information that occurred after the valuation date. In contrast, the information that the respondent has provided is supported by verified market sales that were adjusted to the July 1st, 2025 market date. It has been prepared using legislated value methodologies, and we do feel that it is fair and equitable when compared to similar properties within the municipality. So accordingly, we respectfully request that the board confirm the assessment of the subject property at $2,651,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bannerman. Mr. Themick, any final comments? No. At this time, I would like to ask all the parties if they feel they have been heard today and if they feel that they have received a fair hearing.
Yes.
Thank you. I will now declare the hearing closed. No further evidence or submissions may be received by the board. The Municipal Government Act requires a written decision within 30 days and gives the clerk an additional 7 days to issue the decision. We will make every effort to meet or beat those requirements, and the clerk will forward our decision to you at our earliest opportunity. We will now take a break for 10 minutes. Thank you. Good morning and welcome to this Canmore Local Assessment Review Board hearing. I would like to remind everyone that the ARB hearings are open to the public and that this hearing will be recorded and streamed live. The video recording will be our record of the hearing. We are here today to review the complaint and subsequent evidence as filed for tax roll number 12005, municipal address of 244 Grizzly Crescent. I will start by introducing the panel and then ask the parties to introduce themselves. After that, I will explain our standard hearing operating procedures and ask for comment in that regard. My name is Anita Furlan, and I am the presiding officer appointed to this panel. The other panel members are?
Good morning, my name is Jen Marin. I'm a panel member and representative of Town of Canmore Council.
Good morning, my name is Christoph Breyer.
Does anyone have any objection to the panel as constituted? And I will note that the complainant has submitted a written complaint only and is not present in the room. I will now have the parties introduce themselves. As I stated, the complainant is not with us today. It is a written hearing only by Bradley Landcop. So I will ask the respondent to introduce themselves.
My name is Deanne Bannerman. I'm with Legacy Municipal Services, and I'm the appointed assessor for the town of Canmore.
Thank you. The LARB standard practice is to have the complainant present all of their evidence, which will be in the written format, and then the respondent to present evidence, and then summation. Are there any questions regarding the procedure today, or is everyone satisfied with the process as was laid out? Okay. I see both parties have exchanged disclosure evidence before the hearing. To save time, I propose that we mark all documents for the record now. That won't stop anyone raising questions about admissibility later. If any such questions arise, we can still deal with them and strike material from the record later if necessary. Is everyone comfortable with this procedure? Mr. Clerk?
Perfect, thank you. We've received the following evidence for tax roll 12005, complainant package C1, complaint form 1 page, complainant package C2, complaint disclosure 1 page, and respondent package R1, respondent disclosure 43 pages.
Thank you. Are there any other preliminary issues for the panel to address? Yes. Yeah, please come to the podium. Ms. Bannerman, thank you.
Sure. So the preliminary issues that we would like to bring forward to the board is asking for the complaint for the subject property, or 12005, to be dismissed. And this is done based on there not being evidence provided by the disclosure timelines, and then the information on C2 having been provided after the disclosure timeline. So we're asking for this information that was provided on C2 not to be omitted as evidence as it was late, and only the assessment the information on C1 be admitted, however, not having enough information. So I won't read through the entire brief since the complainant's not here, but it is before all parties, including the complainant and the board. So all of our support and our court deadlines and supporting documents are included there. There's just one piece that I would like to add that isn't specifically referenced in our brief. And this is part of legislation, so there's no requirement for us to provide it ahead of time, but I am going to just read it to you. And so what it is regarding the Interpretation Act. So Section 22 or 23, sub 3 of the Interpretation Act, it interprets what the deadlines are. So some of the information that comes from the Assessment Review Board clerk is that the complainant must, at least 21 days prior to the hearing, provide disclosure to all parties. So just for additional information for you, this reads that if an enactment contains a reference to a number of days expressed to be clear days, or to at least, or not less than, a number of days between two events, in calculating the number of days, the days on which these events happen should be excluded. So just to provide the board with clarification as to the 21 days was appropriately communicated by the ARB clerk to all parties. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bannerman. The board will now take a brief break so that we can contemplate the potential dismissal of this complaint. Thank you. We'll take it until 11:05.
11:05.
Good morning. We're returning to hearing 12005 for 244 Grizzly Crescent. The decision of the board is the complainant package marked C2 will not be considered for evidence as it did not meet the disclosure deadline dates based upon the 22 sub 3 Interpretation Act as provided by the respondent. Seeing that the board then only has complainant C1 package, there's insufficient evidence for this hearing to proceed. The hearing will be dismissed. I will now declare the hearing closed. No further evidence or submissions may be received by the board. The Municipal Government Act requires a written decision within 30 days and gives the clerk an additional 7 days to issue the decision. We will make every effort to meet or beat those requirements, and the clerk will forward our decision to you at our earliest opportunity. We may now proceed on to our next scheduled hearing. Again, this is a written hearing for tax roll number 11437, municipal address of 930 9th Street. Again, I will start by introducing the panel and then ask the parties to introduce themselves. After that, I will explain our standard hearing procedure and ask for comments in that regard. My name is Anita Furlan, and I'm the presiding officer appointed to this panel. The other panel members with me today are.
Good morning, my name is Jen Marin. I'm a panel member and representative of Town of Canmore Council.
Good morning, my name is Christoph Breyer.
Thank you. And as noted, the complainant is not present, and it is a written complaint for Isabel Ann Baker of 930 9th Street. I'll ask the respondent to introduce herself.
My name is Deanne Bannerman. I'm with Legacy Municipal Services, and I'm the appointed assessor for the town of Canmore. Thank you.
I see both parties have exchanged disclosure evidence before the hearing. To save time, I propose that we mark all documents for the record now. That won't stop anyone raising concerns about admissibility later. If any such questions arise, we can still deal with them and strike material from the record later if necessary. Is everyone comfortable with this procedure? Mr. Clerk?
Thank you. We received the following evidence for tax roll 11437, complainant package C1, complaint form 12 pages, and respondent package R1, respondent disclosure 58 pages.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Are there any preliminary issues for the panel to address? Then, as noted, the complaint is a written complaint. I will just ask the respondent if she has any further argument she wishes to make orally, or if not, the panel will consider the complaint as submitted from the disclosure documents.
I don't have any material to present orally that's not already in my disclosure package, but I am available to answer any questions the board may have.
Thank you. I think the board is happy with the documents as presented. I will now declare the hearing closed. No further evidence or submissions may be received by the board. The Municipal Government Act requires a written decision within 30 days and gives the clerk an additional 7 days to issue the decision. We'll make every effort to meet or beat those requirements, and the clerk will forward our decision to you at our earliest opportunity. This is our last hearing of the day, so that concludes the LARB for June 29th. Thank you.